All right, everybody, thank you so much for being here on the Master Passive Income Show. I am super excited to show you a great tool for us as investors to find really, really good properties. Now, I brought on somebody from foreclosure.com that's going to show us how to use the system, how to find some great deals. So, Andy, thank you so much for being here on the show with me.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Andy, I know you've been working there for many, many years, like 15 years now. So tell us a little bit about foreclosure.com and how it is beneficial for us as rental property investors.
All right. Well, foreclosure.com is a website that what we do is try to get this information from thousands of different sources and put it on one easier to use website. That way you're not always having to run around to your local courthouses, things like that. But not only that, but if you're interested in investing in other areas that aren't close, you can do it right through the website rather than having to, make those drives or try and, track down sources in each particular area. We mainly list foreclosures and pre-foreclosures on our site. So obviously properties that you can potentially get a really good deal on. But we also list fixer-uppers, as is, even some bankruptcies and rent-to-owns and things like that. So we try to have any property really that you could potentially get a good deal on.
So you also get them off the MLS too, is that correct?
Not directly from the MLS. You do need to be a licensed realtor to have access there. There is some listings that we get through aggregators that put that information out, as well as a lot of our information is coming from courthouse records and government agencies and mortgage companies, because not all the listings on our site are on the MLS. A lot of them haven't even been marketed for sale yet.
Which is great, because as investors, if you go to a large pool of buyers like the MLS, we're going to have a lot more competition. And so if we're able to get away from that and have less competition, hopefully we're going to get a better deal. So tell us about geography-wise, or is it all over the country? Is there any pockets that we might miss, or how does it work out with the entire country?
It's the entire country. You can look on the website by zip code, by city, or by county. So you can drill it all the way down to a specific zip code if that's what you're looking for. But if you want to see a little bit more around the area, push it out to the city or even go county-wide, because then you may have some more selections to look through, especially depending on what criteria you're looking for.
So you mentioned rent-to-own. So I'm assuming it's not just foreclosure properties.
Correct. Foreclosures is obviously what we started with. That's why we're foreclosure.com. But the foreclosures and pre-foreclosures still do make up the majority of the listings that we have. But we've certainly branched out to others as well. Fixer-uppers and as-is properties, there's not necessarily any foreclosure happening on them, but obviously they may be sold at a bit of a discount because they may need some work. Rent-to-owns certainly are very popular right now. Rent-to-owns, there aren't as many that are specifically marketed that way already. But what we're able to get, we try to put out there. We've got about 1,500 to 2,000 across the country right now. Obviously, if rent-to-owns is the way you're looking to go, though, there are other ways of doing that, including turning foreclosures into rent-to-owns, so you have a little more selection to work with.
That's great. Yeah. Having many options in order to fund, buy, find all these properties are fantastic. Now, when you say rent-to-own, is that similar to like seller financing? What is rent-to-own and seller financing? Do those kind of go hand in hand?
Rent-to-own and lease option usually are two of the main versions you hear of it. Basically where you are making a deal to rent that property for a certain amount of time, and then you have to exercise your option and buy it. Typically, it's within 1 to 2 years. A lot of the time, the people who are really looking for rent-to-owns are people who have something on their credit where they can't get a traditional loan right now, but they want to buy that property. Maybe it's a particular property they really like, or the location is perfect for them. So that's where the rent-to-owns really come in. But the important thing about those is obviously being able to either get a loan to pay it off, within that time frame. Otherwise you could end up having to start all over from scratch.
That's okay. That makes complete sense. Now, I get a lot of people asking me, how do we find off-market deals? But obviously, this is not, MLS is basically the market, like where everybody else is finding those. This is a great option. Now, would you mind walking us through foreclosure.com? And basically, let's just say somebody says, I want to invest in Tennessee. Let's just pick a state like Tennessee. Can you walk us through the process of finding an investment property and using foreclosure.com?
course. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. So here we have the homepage of foreclosure.com. There's a lot of information you can get right from the start. You'll see next to the map of the United States a general listing of just the number of properties that we have on the site right now, in excess of 440,000 across the country. And it breaks down for the different listing types. You know, as I mentioned, mainly foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, but quite a few other types as well. Right here from the main page is where you're going to do your main searches. There is one little tool I want to show you on this page before I jump into the search itself, and that's if you just scroll down a little bit, you'll see our subscribe to our free VIP email alerts. Now, these are completely free. You can put in as many zip codes as you want, and this will actually send you emails when new listings appear in the area that you're looking to search in. So it's a great tool that we offer. You will not see the details of the properties without having the paid membership as well, but there is a way of just getting these alerts so you don't necessarily have to come to the site every single day. When you're on the website itself, in the upper right here, we have our Get Free Preview. We do offer a 7-day free trial of the site so you can check it out. After that, it's a monthly fee of $39.80 per month. You can cancel at any time. It's just a month-to-month membership. It will automatically renew, so you do have to make sure you cancel when you no longer want the service. But that's where you would click to go in and actually sign up. I'm just going to go in and sign into an account here. And now we're actually on the page where we're going to be able to search.
So like I said, let's say we want to go to Tennessee, and we want to find a good area in Tennessee that we're going to be able to find a good rental property at.
I mean, most of the time people who are looking for these are going to be looking for a particular area a little bit more than just a state.
So let's say I know I have some students that are investing in other definitely areas of the country, but let's look at specifically, let's say Memphis. Memphis, okay. I have a few students that are currently looking there. Let's look at Memphis and see what we have.
We're going to type in Memphis, and you'll see it already starts giving me suggestions. And I can just go Memphis, Tennessee, and search. Now here, it's going to bring us right into Memphis itself. We're going to have a general map view showing quite a bit of detail information. You can obviously scroll in on this map to actually see things a little further. If you actually have particular areas and you want to use the map. Now, I personally like our list view a little bit better. When you do look at the map view, it's great. And as you scroll in, you'll see these different colored pinpoints, which actually correspond to different listing types, like foreclosures and pre-foreclosures. And you can click on them to see, black is what we call shadow inventory, green is pre-foreclosure, such and such and such.
So pausing that, if something is in pre-foreclosure, can we purchase it if it's in pre-foreclosure?
If it's a pre-foreclosure, the homeowner is still in control of it. They could still get caught up on their payments and get out of it. But a lot of people will try and approach the homeowner and see if they can buy it from them early and save them from going into foreclosure. And the pre-foreclosures is where you're getting those main body of properties that have not been on the market yet and maybe not have too many people going after them. What I'm going to do here is right here at the top, you have our different refinement tools for your search. I'm actually going to click and go onto our list view. I personally like the list view myself because you get a little more good description right away of the different properties that are available and what you can see. You can always jump back to the map view as well. The map view, as you scroll along the map view, you can actually change the area that you're looking in, whereas the list view is going to keep you focused on that area that you typed in the first place. So that's kind of why I like it, because I usually know exactly what area I'm looking at. So in this case here, we're in the Memphis area. We've got our different other refinements across the top. You can change how many listings per page, the price that you're looking for, minimum to max, bedrooms, bathrooms. Listing type is an important for refining the search, because this is where you have those different listing types like foreclosures and shadow inventory and pre-foreclosures. And I'll run through those in just a moment. As well as the property type refinement for single family versus condo or a multifamily property. Definitely the listing type is one of the most important things here. And one of the things that we always say to make sure you understand how these different listing types work, because the different listing types are obviously handled differently. A foreclosure on the site means it's already bank owned. So it's already gone through the public auction. No one bid enough at the auction, so the bank took it back, and now the bank is going to be trying to sell it. Typically, those have a realtor's phone number right on them for the bank's agent, and you simply call them to proceed. There are some subsets of foreclosures, HUD properties being the government HUD program. $100 down is actually a particular HUD program that's available in about 12 or 13 states. And shadow inventory are properties that have just become foreclosures. They just went through that public auction, and they may not have agents assigned them yet. So some people like going after those to try and get right to the bank before they've even assigned an agent. Although many banks obviously have agents ready to go that they're going to work with. Pre-foreclosures, as we were mentioning, are still in the hand.
On the pre-foreclosures, does it actually show the person that owns it and their contact information?
It's going to have their name usually listed as defendant. It will not have their contact information due to privacy issues and no call lists and things like that. But obviously with the full address of the property and the name of the owner, finding their phone number may be as simple as looking up in the white pages or doing
that. Yeah, that, and if you go to the recorded documents, you can see where the actual address, you want the mailing address, not the address of the property, because it might be somebody that lives in another state, so you never know. So you want to get the actual address of where the tax bill gets sent to, and if you're going to send a letter, send it to there.
Yeah, because here you're going to have the address of the property itself. If we are able to get another address for them, we will put it in the details page. But for the most part, you're going to have the main address of the property. But as a pre-foreclosure, there are a lot of those that, they are still living in the property as well. Bankruptcies are one of the trickier property types on our site. There are some people who love to invest in bankruptcies, but we try to be very forthcoming with what we offer out there. And a bankruptcy, you want to make sure you understand how the bankruptcy proceedings work. There's a bankruptcy, you may have to follow through the court case, which could potentially take 2 years to resolve. Bankruptcies also are not necessarily for sale. It just means that someone at that address filed for bankruptcy. You could potentially have a family member or a tenant filing for bankruptcy, in which case the house has nothing to do with the bankruptcy itself. So a little trickier, but for those who are interested in bankruptcies and know how it works, a great thing to have access to.
Well, it's also very beneficial if we know who might be struggling, who might have a hard time. They might need to get out of that mortgage, and that could be something we could get in there and help them with that mortgage and take that property off their hands. They might really need that, so that could be a very beneficial thing to do.
Definitely. No, any kind of financially distressed properties like these, the homeowner could potentially need that assistance that, really can either, save them, or, you may actually be able to, buy the property from them and rent them out right to the former owner. Rent to owns, obviously, we talked about already. Not as many of those, across the country, but again, any property can be a rent to own if you can get the current owner to give you that rent to own agreement. The main thing to remember there is, you're not going to want to do a rent to own with the current owner of a foreclosure or a pre-foreclosure, because if in a foreclosure, it's going to be bank owned. They don't want to be landlords. They want to get the property off their books. Pre-foreclosures, if you make a deal with the current owner and they still don't make their payments and lose the property, you're going to be out and your agreement means nothing.
Absolutely. So doing if you're going to buy as a rent to own, there's a whole lot more than just saying, I found it, let me buy it. There's so many more things, especially like you're talking about, to make sure you're not going to get taken for a ride, because they can easily, I've heard so many stories of people doing a rent to own and then the person literally not even being the owner, let alone having a mortgage and then not paying that mortgage. There's so many things that can go wrong. So you have to learn how to do that well before you actually do it.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing about rent to owns that some people don't realize is, if you are looking and there's not maybe rent to owns in your particular area, but that's really what you're looking for, then maybe what you want to do is find a foreclosure or pre-foreclosure that you can get a better deal on, and then find a real estate investor to buy that property for you and turn around and offer you that rent to own agreement. So that way you clear out the potential problem and the worries of what is happening with the current owner. and you end up getting that property for a good price because it was already a foreclosure. It's
I agree. I absolutely agree.
A way of getting a little equity into the property right away. See, going on to the next tax liens. We do have a certain amount of tax liens on the site as well. Tax liens, we always tell people, you really want to check with the tax assessor's office in the county you're working in, find out how they deal with their tax lien sales. Tax liens are handled differently, not only state by state, but in many cases county by county. Some counties will hold a tax lien sale once a month. Others may only hold them once a year. There are tax deed sales where they're actually auctioning off the property, but there are also tax certificate sales where you're just paying off the back taxes and you're assuming the government's position and becoming the lien holder on the property. The homeowner then has to pay you the back taxes plus interest, or you could foreclose on the property. But again, even if you go through that whole process, it's going to end up with an auction at the end where someone else could buy it. You might be able to make a great little investment, get your money back plus investment for that interest percentage, but a lot of times you're not going to end up with the property itself. Sheriff sales. Sheriff sales on our site is another way of dealing with the pre-foreclosures. Sheriff sales for us is a quick way of seeing what is a pre-foreclosure listing that has an auction date in the next 3 weeks. So if you're rip-roaring ready to go and you want to get to one of those auctions right away, Sheriff sales is going to show you what's about to hit the auction block. Short sales. Short sales are pre-foreclosure properties also. But if it's listed specifically as a short sale, it usually means the bank has already agreed that they would be willing to do that short sale if someone meets, the terms. As is deals and fixer-uppers, fairly closely related. As I mentioned before, these are properties that, they don't necessarily have a foreclosure on them, but you might be able to get a deal on it because it may need some work. So, as is deals, obviously it's being sold as is. They're not going to do any work or anything, to it beforehand. Fixer-uppers, they may be able to tell you right away what kind of work is needed. City-owned is an interesting property type, and the final one on our list here. And city-owned properties, again, is one of those kind of unique deals that are available in different areas of the country, and it all depends on how the city is handling them. Sometimes these are properties that they got back where they even have, you'll hear about mow-to-own programs, where if you take care of the property for a year, it becomes yours. A lot of times there are stipulations on the city-owned, like they may be empty lots and they try to get them in the hands of people who already live adjacent to them. But you can actually jump into those city-owned ones, and I'll show you a different way of getting into those listings. And then you would actually check and find out what the program is in that particular area.
So now we've gone through those. Would you please show us how to find if we're saying, I want to look in Memphis, Tennessee, I want to find a good deal. If you were going to go do that yourself, walk us through the process. Like, what we click on? What should we do? Let's say we want to find a property that's maybe at minimum $20,000, at maximum $100,000, and we want to find a good deal. How would we walk us through that?
Well, what we're going to do here is, again, using our refinement tools across the top, we're going to go right into our price, and we'll do our minimum of 20, maximum of 100,000, as you mentioned. We're not worried about really, beds or baths right now. Listing type, again, is really going to depend on what you're looking for. If you're looking for something that's already marketed for sale, then you could jump right into just the foreclosure listings. And you see we've only got 10 here that match that, but we can go right down, and when it comes to these, you're going to see two different things when it comes to the prices that are listed. You're going to see list price, like you see on this one right here, and the list price means that this is actually the marketed property sale price that they're looking for. Certainly you can make offers, but that's what it's being advertised as. If, on the other hand, you'll see these other listings where it says EMV, that's estimated market value, and you'll notice if you hover over it, it actually tells you that. And these are properties where, for whatever reason, they haven't actually put a price on them yet, So what we're doing is we're going to actually just look at that estimated market value based off of other sales in the area. Now, just so you can see a little bit more detail of that, I'm just going to look at this first property here, this 258 Silver Age Avenue. And I'm going to click right there on the address, and that's going to take us to the details page of the listing. And this is where we get all the basic property information: 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,008 square feet, as a single family property. This property we did not see any additional photos on besides the general overhead we're able to get. So it may be that there wasn't a realtor hasn't actually taken pictures yet to post. If we're able to get those pictures, they would be right here on the listing, and I'll show you what those look like on another listing momentarily. As we look down through this list, you're going to see across the top, again, status active. So as far as we're aware, this is available yet. The listing ID is a internal number for us, but that is a way you can come back to this listing again later. You can also click on the heart if you want to put it into your saved listings, if it's something you definitely want to look at.
And I like how you have the market value. How do you assess the market value of the property?
Exactly where I was going next. This is actually based off of, we get it from other sources in the area, and again, it's based off of other sales. So you've got both a low range and a high range of both the market value price as well as the rental value, in case you're actually looking to buy a property to turn into a rental. What we use is the EMV. Is we always use the low range because we don't want to overestimate it. We'd rather have you have something that may be a better idea, and then you can actually judge on that based on once you see what the what you think the property is worth.
So how do you find the rent amount? Because it seems like that would be a really good property if you could rent it for $940, and if you could pick it up, let's say the high range, $41,000. You buy it for $40,000. That'd be still a really good property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, that's
how did you come up with the rent value? Is it by pulling up the other listings that are for lease in the area? And do you guys do all that yourself? Or do you have like an aggregator that does all that?
From external sources that we've worked with that we get in that particular area. So they actually pull those local values of what things sell and rent for, and we just do the low, high, and obviously this is just a median value, so you have a general idea.
So who is the one that actually does the listing, put up the listing? Is it the bank? Is it a realtor?
We actually get them from, like I said, thousands of different sources across the country. When you're dealing with the pre-foreclosures in particular, a lot of those we're dealing with getting them from courthouse records. We're getting them from when those notice of defaults or notice of sales are being filed. Foreclosures could be coming directly from banks, mortgage companies, as well as when they actually just market these properties out there as a foreclosure. We are able to get some of these based off of the descriptions of properties. In particular, like the fixer-uppers, for example, we'll have a source that gets us that information, and we'll look for things like fixer-upper, handyman special, diamond in the rough, just to try and get those extra properties that you can get a little better deal on.
Okay, so let's say that I think this property is going to look good. How would I go? What does foreclosure.com do to help me take that next step to actually buy the property or put an offer in and find out who I can offer it to?
Well, you're going to scroll right down through the listing and see more information. Again, it's a foreclosure timeline, so this one is a foreclosure, so it's already bank owned. You get some basic property information here that we try and get from the tax laws in the area. Now I see here the owner name on this one is listed as Secretary of HUD. So this is actually going to be a government HUD-owned property. So we probably will not have a contact information on it because HUD uses different agents in the area. But with a HUD property, you can try and look it up through the actual government HUD program. You'll want to actually find out what those rules are in that case. Some HUD programs are specifically designed for people who are going to live in the properties. So if you're looking at it as an investment property and it's a HUD, it may not end up working out for you because of that.
Yeah, and with HUD properties, it's definitely, with it being government owned, everything that is HUD, it's all available, freely available. So I think I can't remember the exact site, but it's like HUD.gov or something like that. But you
HUD.gov
can just look it up,
there.
and then you'd be able to contact them and say, hey, I'm interested in this property. I see it's a HUD property. How can I go about buying it?
Yeah, HUD.gov is their main site to read about all their different programs. Their bidding website for HUD authorized agents, I believe, is HUDhomestore.com.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're not going to have too much more information on this particular listing.
So let's back out. Let's find a property that would not be a HUD, that would maybe be something else that we can actually find some content in here of who to connect to and who to contact to put an offer.
So I went back to my search results here, and we'll look through and find one like this that's got pictures already.
It's actually listed, yeah.
That'll indicate right there that we got a source that was giving us direct information of the property. So now we've got here, you'll see you've got 11 photos, and you can, of course, either go through them through the bottom, or just cycle through them right here using the
Sure. And I can see if you scroll back up, Andy. So as you scroll back up, you can see market analysis almost $62,000. It's listed for almost $55,000. But if you could rent it for $1,000, you have the low range $900, high range $1,200. This might be a decent property. So I personally don't like 2 bedrooms in general, just because they're harder to rent, harder to sell, all that sort of stuff. But let's just say this was a good property. So how would we find the person, or how do we make an offer? How do we contact to get this going?
Again, we're going to scroll right down through here, and here you've got contact information. And you've got in this case, you've got the agent's company, you've got their name, you've got their phone number, you've got a link to email them. So we try to give you everything that you need to get a hold of the agent and deal with them towards picking up this property.
I think this is fantastic because it shows us off-market properties. It helps us to know what properties are not on the MLS yet that we can actually get good deals on. Now, are there any properties on here that we would actually buy through foreclosure.com? I don't think, right? That's not something that foreclosure.com does.
No. We stay out of all that. There's too many, individual laws and legalities in each area. So we concentrate on getting these listings, getting them as quickly as we can so that you can find them. Because if you're working in a particular area, you're going to know those laws and legalities much better than we ever will. So, if we can... I
think that's great. Yeah, I know, because Zillow, they actually are buying properties and selling them on there. To me, that seems like a conflict of interest. I take all of their analysis and their estimates and everything with a grain of salt because they're trying to... Anyways, I just think it's not the best. I really do like how foreclosure.com, it's really just, hey, we're providing a service showing you really good properties, because you can either use this, pay a little bit of money every single month, or pay a lot of money and send out a bunch of yellow letters and be cold calling people driving around, as opposed to using foreclosure.com, which is literally everything listed out there for you, has your contact information that you could just jump right on a property, as opposed to going through so much more work, and you still get good deals.
Exactly. Now let's take a quick jump back to our main page here, and we'll look at a pre-foreclosure, just so you can see how that's different. So I'm just going to go into our listing type, and click to look at pre-foreclosures. You also probably noticed that on the listing types here, it'll actually show you how many listings of each type are in that particular area that you're searching. And this is dynamic, so this will change with each search that you're doing. So, if you choose a different area, it'll tell you exactly what's listed in those areas. So now here we've got pre-foreclosures. Now, pre-foreclosures, again, have not been marketed for sale yet. So this information is usually not something that you're going to be able to, have a set price or anything else. Now, this actually ends up being a special one. When we went into this pre-foreclosure, the first thing I noticed is this yellow notice of public foreclosure auction. So this one is actually coming to us through auction.com, and this one's actually got an auction date of December 20th. So this is a property that is actually about to come up for auction, and you can try to arrange to actually be at that auction.
Which is great, because I get a lot of people asking me, well, how do I find out which properties are actually going to auction? Well, look at that right here. It actually tells you the date of the auction, and it shows, you could literally go to the auction and put an offer in on it yourself.
Exactly. And in a case like this, because it's with auction.com, we have their information right here, and you can either click on Get Property Details Now, or there's usually a place down a little lower where it says Additional Info Link, click here. And this is actually going to take you to auction.com. So you can actually look at their listing for the property, And if you need any other questions answered, because they're the auction house dealing with it, you're going to call them. So
that's great how it's connected like that. It makes it much more simple.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, if you're dealing with a regular auction at the county courthouse, you may not see all of that information and may not have a link. But again, down here, as you scroll down, you see there's again, we have the auction date. If it is a regular county auction, we'll usually have that auction date as well, and it may even tell you the time and the address, although the majority of the time, that's, of course, the county courthouse where that auction is taking place at. If you want to deal with these auctions, I would recommend checking with the county courthouse and the clerk of the court, find out what their rules and regulations are of their auctions ahead of time. Again, something that differs in every different area. Some like you to sign up in advance just to let them know you're going to be there. Some you have to have the entire amount ready to pay that day. Others, a cashier's check for a certain amount. So again, good idea to find those rules and regulations out beforehand. You may even want to go to an auction without any intention of buying, just to kind of see what's going on, how they handle things, and maybe even see a little bit of what your competition is in the area.
That's a great idea. I've been to many, many auctions, and it's rather entertaining to watch how that works out. And if I had never gone, I would never know what it's really like. You kind of imagine what an auction looks like, but this is totally different. So yeah, that's great. Now, with foreclosure.com, is there anything else that we need to know about finding properties, about utilizing foreclosure.com?
Not too much. It's just really just distilling the information that we've already gone over. Obviously, you're going to pick the type of listing that's going to work out for you. Some people like the foreclosures. They want to deal with the bank and hopefully buy it as quickly as they can and just move on. Some people love going after those pre-foreclosures and actually trying to get to that homeowner ahead of time and maybe save them from going into that foreclosure. So it really depends a lot on what you're actually looking for and what you.
What is that link at the top that says cheap homes? That struck my eye.
Cheap homes. You can click right on it. And this is actually going to take you to another page of our site. So sometimes we're able to really get, some interesting properties. In this case, this gives you a little search option where you're usually dealing with something under 60K, or you can change it to even, lower amounts if that's what you're looking for, and put in a state or county and see what comes up. Now, we'll try. Let me try Broward County, Florida here. One extra click there. Okay, so this just popped us up a quick way of getting in and seeing those properties that are, under that 60K limit. So if you've got something that, you're hard and fast about the amount you want to spend, sometimes, these can be some great properties. Obviously you're going to want to look through the details of them and find out, what's going to work for you. But, we have a lot of, little extras that we try to put in for things like that. Cheap homes, the city-owned, as I mentioned before. If you actually click on city-owned, we actually give you a list of where some programs exist. And then you can actually select.
Is that the amount of properties that's next to it, the numbers?
Yeah, that's how many listings are out there. Illinois, obviously, they have a lot of issues and properties and availability.
Let's go to Kansas City in Missouri, right at the top.
All right, so we go to Kansas City, and boom, here we go with our city-owned listings, and we're just
so these are city-owned properties.
Yep. And obviously, it's going to look mostly like a regular listing because we try to give this basic information so that you have a general idea of what you're going to see. And you're going to scroll down, and there's contact information right there for the Kansas City Land Bank who's dealing with this one. There was also, in property information, there was an additional info link. And if we click there it is, the Kansas City Land Bank. And that might give us a little bit of information about this property. Again, for the city-owned ones, there are so many different programs out there. You're going to want to check with them and find out what the rules and stipulations are for these buyers.
That's fantastic. Great. So Andy, I mean, you've shown us so many great things about foreclosure.com. I really hope that investors can see this as a huge opportunity to find really, really good deals. And so I have a link below in the description, so you'll be able to check that out as well. But so they would just be able to go in there and sign up, and it's a monthly fee, like you said. Once you get in there, you find properties, and like what's great is, I mean, you find a property, sometimes you might not need to be able to buy for the next 6 months. You can turn it off and then turn it back on when you're ready to buy, which is fantastic. So this is a great, great service. So Andy, I really, really appreciate your time. I think this is a fantastic service. So thank you very much for being on the show. Is there anything else that we need to know?
No, I really think that we've covered a lot of it. Obviously, we've got customer service here too. If you have any questions about the site and how things work, we're here Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we're always ready to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. Andy, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you showing us everything about foreclosure.com.
Thank you so much. And like I said, let us know if we can help with.
All right. Thank you.